At 11:47 on the hottest night their city had recorded in 20 years, Gavin Holt heard 3 uncertain knocks. The single father opened his door, expecting another warning about the failing power grid. Instead, he found his beautiful new neighbor standing beneath the porch light in a tan robe, her dark curls damp from the heat, and a small overnight bag clutched against her chest. Her air conditioner had died. Her apartment had become dangerous. Every hotel was full, and she had nowhere else to go. Gavin's 9-year-old daughter was asleep down the hall. Letting a near stranger inside could invite gossip, confusion, and feelings he had spent years avoiding. But before morning, the heat would expose a far greater danger and prove that her knock had saved more than one lonely night. Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? The heat arrived on a Monday and refused to leave. By Thursday, pavement softened beneath parked cars. Buses carried bottled water, and news anchors warned that temperatures would remain above 90 until dawn. Gavin Holt spent the day 40 feet above the ground, repairing overloaded utility lines. At 38, he was a senior electrical line worker with a heavyweight muscular build shaped by climbing poles in brutal weather. Sandy blonde hair, a close beard, and calm sea-green eyes framed his rugged face. By 10:30, his work shirt was soaked. He changed into a fitted charcoal gray t-shirt, checked the locks twice, and walked into his 9-year-old daughter Piper's room. Piper slept in sunflower pajamas and purple glasses she had forgotten to remove. A yellow battery fan named Sunny turned beside her bed, its handle covered in blue star stickers. Gavin removed her glasses and checked the portable AC he had bought with overtime. Piper's asthma made extreme heat dangerous. Their landlord had promised to replace the failing central system, but Gavin stopped waiting after the third excuse. Juniper Court held 8 old rental cottages around a shared garden. Mr. Benton grew tomatoes. The Alvarez family painted their porch each spring, and Gavin repaired anything owner Wesley Brandt dismissed as cosmetic. Raina Cole had moved into Cottage 5 6 weeks earlier. Gavin knew she was an emergency nurse who returned from night shifts carrying her shoes across the gravel. At 33, she was glamorous and curvy, with olive-fair skin, deep hazel eyes, and thick dark curls tied loosely high. Their brief conversations lasted long enough for Gavin to notice her dimple and short enough for him to pretend he had not. At 11:47, someone knocked. 3 soft taps. A pause. 2 more. Gavin checked the porch camera, then opened the door with the security chain still fastened. Raina stood beneath the yellow porch light. Her damp curls framed a tired face. A tan satin robe was tied securely over a modest burgundy sleep set. She clutched an overnight bag while embarrassment competed with exhaustion. "I'm sorry," she said. "My AC stopped. It's 94 degrees inside. I called every hotel within 20 miles. Gavin released the chain. "Did you call the emergency maintenance number?" She showed him 6 unanswered calls and a text marked delivered. "I wouldn't ask if I had another safe option." Her voice lowered. "Can I spend the night?" Gavin thought of Piper down the hall, Raina's dark cottage, and the ambulance calls heard over his radio all day. "The sofa folds out," he said. "You can lock the guest bathroom from inside. Piper wakes early and asks questions without warning." Relief changed Raina's entire face. "I can handle questions." "Nobody can handle all of Piper's questions." He stepped aside. Gavin gave Raina electrolyte water, clean sheets, and a spare charger. He kept his bedroom door open for airflow toward Piper's room. Raina chose the sofa closest to the front door. There was attraction between them, but neither treated emergency shelter as permission. Raina sat beneath a floor fan while Gavin checked the city outage map. A cluster of brownouts spread across their neighborhood. "You should be sleeping," she said. "So should you. I spent 12 hours telling patients to stay hydrated. Then I came home and ignored every symptom in myself." Gavin looked at the flush across her skin and the slight tremor in her fingers. He filled another glass. "Drink first. Be embarrassed tomorrow." She smiled despite herself. "You sound like an emergency nurse." "I sound like a dad." Similar training, less paperwork. Piper appeared in the hallway at 12:20, wearing one sock and carrying Sunny by its yellow handle. "Why is the pretty neighbor sleeping in our living room?" Gavin closed his eyes. Raina answered gently, "My house got too hot, and your dad is helping me." Piper considered this, then handed her the battery fan. "Sunny works when everything else quits. What will you use?" "Dad snores cold air." "I do not," Gavin said. Piper returned to bed unconvinced. At 1:14, the power failed. The portable AC stopped. The floor fan slowed into silence. Juniper Court disappeared into darkness except for emergency lights and the yellow beam from Sunny. Gavin disconnected sensitive equipment, checked Piper's breathing, and called dispatch. A transformer had opened after repeated overloads, and crews were stretched across the city. Then someone shouted outside. Mr. Benton had collapsed beside his tomato plants while trying to reach his car. Raina tied her robe tighter and ran barefoot across the grass before Gavin could find his boots. She checked the elderly man's airway, pulse, and temperature, while Gavin brought a cooling towel and battery lantern. Mr. Benton was conscious but confused. Raina placed cool cloths at his neck and wrists, speaking calmly until the ambulance arrived. The paramedic confirmed heat exhaustion that might soon have become heat stroke. As the ambulance left, Gavin saw porch lights from battery lanterns appearing around the court. Children were crying. Mrs. Alvarez stood with an infant against her shoulder. Every central air system in Wesley Brandt's cottages had stopped before the grid failed. Gavin's portable unit had been the only working system. Gavin opened the brick laundry room and connected 2 approved storm response batteries. Raina organized water and medical checks. Piper carried Sunny toward whoever looked most miserable. At 3 in the morning, Raina found Gavin outside Cottage 5, examining the AC disconnect with a flashlight, but not touching the sealed equipment. Green corrosion covered the casing. The electrical whip had cracked insulation. A service sticker showed no licensed inspection in 4 years. "This didn't break tonight," Gavin said. Raina opened her phone and showed him 3 maintenance requests submitted since she moved in. The first mentioned burning plastic near the outdoor unit. Wesley's manager had closed each ticket as completed. Gavin photographed the corrosion from a safe distance. The heatwave had not created Juniper Court's danger. It had removed the darkness hiding it. Power returned shortly after sunrise, but none of the central air systems restarted. Gavin's portable unit cooled his cottage 1 room at a time. He moved Piper's mattress into the living room and invited the most vulnerable residents inside, while Raina called the hospital's heat response coordinator. By 8, a shuttle carried Mr. Benton home with instructions not to remain alone. Raina settled him beneath the portable air outlet and checked his temperature. Piper positioned Sunny beside his tomato-stained cap. Wesley Brandt arrived at 9:15 in a white luxury SUV. He was 50, polished, and visibly annoyed by the residents gathered beneath the courtyard trees. He did not ask about Mr. Benton. He asked who had entered the laundry room and whether tenants had overloaded the electrical system with unauthorized appliances. Gavin kept his voice level. The utility transformer failed after the cottage systems stopped. Those are separate events. Wesley looked at Gavin's portable AC through the open door. "That unit violates your lease. It plugs into a dedicated circuit inspected by the city. Piper needs it for asthma. I requested your approval in writing last year." Wesley said he had never received the request. Gavin showed the signed delivery receipt. Raina then displayed her closed maintenance tickets. Other residents found similar records: refrigerant leaks marked repaired, sparking disconnects marked safe, and a broken thermostat blamed on a tenant who had moved away. Wesley's expression changed from irritation to calculation. He promised technicians by afternoon, then ordered everyone to stop photographing the equipment. "They can photograph anything visible from their homes," Raina said. "Are you their attorney?" "No, I'm the nurse who treated the man your neglect nearly killed." Gavin stepped slightly between them, not to silence Raina, but to keep the confrontation from becoming physical. Wesley left without answering. The technicians who arrived were not licensed. Their van carried no company name, and they proposed bypassing the damaged safety disconnects to force the compressors on. Gavin refused access to his cottage and called the city's emergency inspection line. He did not claim authority he lacked. He gave his name, license classification, photographs, service stickers, and the burning plastic complaints. An electrical inspector arrived with the fire marshal 90 minutes later. They found undersized breakers, corroded disconnects, deteriorated wiring, and invoices showing that Wesley's property manager had billed for replacements never installed. The fire marshal ordered all 8 systems shut down. The housing department required Wesley to provide hotel rooms or equivalent cooled accommodations until licensed repairs passed inspection. Every nearby hotel was still full. Gavin's utility union opened its training center as a cooling shelter. Reyna arranged medical volunteers, while Dana Alvarez organized meals. Nobody waited for Wesley to become generous. That evening, residents rode a city bus to the center. Gavin remained behind long enough to secure Piper's medicine and lock the cottages. Reyna waited beside him, with Sunny clipped to her bag. "You don't have to keep saving everybody," she said. "Neither do you. I get paid for it. Not here." For a moment, they stood in the silent court between homes, too dangerous to sleep inside. Reyna touched his forearm, then let go before the gesture could ask for more than he was ready to give. "Thank you for opening the door," she said. "Thank you for knocking. Mr. Benton might have been alone otherwise." At the training center, they slept on separate cots with Piper between their rows. Rumors did not matter. Boundaries did. When Piper woke from an asthma cough, Reyna brought water while Gavin prepared the inhaler. Neither replaced the other. They simply worked together. The next morning, Wesley asked Gavin to meet privately beside the locked laundry room. He offered 3 months of free rent if Gavin would tell inspectors the damage resulted from the transformer outage. The offer arrived in a follow-up text because Wesley wanted Gavin to consider it carefully. Gavin forwarded the message to the housing investigator. "You could have taken it," Reyna said later. "Then every repair I ever made here would belong to him." The investigation found maintenance funds diverted into cosmetic renovations elsewhere and invoices for work completed only on paper. Wesley was not arrested in a dramatic courtyard scene. Accountability arrived through stop work orders, civil penalties, repayment demands, and a judge who read every closed maintenance ticket aloud. The court appointed a receiver. Residents received temporary housing, rent credits, and medical reimbursement, while licensed crews replaced panels, disconnects, and AC systems. Repairs took 6 weeks. During that time, Gavin and Reyna stopped pretending their connection belonged only to the emergency. Their first date was breakfast after her night shift. Reyna wore navy scrubs, and Gavin arrived directly from a line crew in a clean utility shirt. They talked about ordinary things: bad television, Piper's refusal to eat square sandwiches, and why Reyna had moved to Juniper Court. She had ended a long engagement after realizing her fiancé loved being cared for, but never asked what caring cost her. She chose the small cottage because the garden reminded her of her grandmother's home. Gavin's former wife, Lila, lived in another state after accepting a research position. Their divorce had been difficult but respectful. Piper video-called her every evening and spent school breaks with her. Gavin had avoided dating because he feared introducing another temporary person into his daughter's life. "I'm not asking for a role," Reyna said. "I'm asking for another breakfast." He gave her one. Then another. When Juniper Court reopened, every cottage had safe power, working AC, and carbon monoxide alarms. The receiver posted inspection reports publicly. Wesley's company was barred from managing occupied property until it completed court-ordered compliance. Reyna returned to Cottage 5. That first evening, she stood on her porch looking at the closed windows and listening to the new compressor hum. Gavin waited across the garden with Piper. "It works," Reyna called. Piper raised Sunny like a trophy. "We have backup," Reyna laughed, but her eyes found Gavin's and stayed there. The night she had asked to spend beneath his roof had ended. What began there had not. Autumn gave them time to learn what crisis had hidden. Gavin was excellent during emergencies and terrible at resting afterward. Raina could manage a crowded trauma room, but forgot groceries until her refrigerator contained only mustard and sparkling water. Piper loved them both enough to describe these flaws without mercy. Raina did not move into Gavin's cottage. She kept her own space and joined their routines slowly. Wednesday dinners, Saturday walks to the library, Sunday video calls with Lila, who met Raina without suspicion and thanked her for never treating motherhood as an empty position waiting to be claimed. Gavin learned that Raina sang quietly while watering plants and became silent when worried. Raina learned he folded fitted sheets with professional precision and kept a notebook of every promise he made Piper. Sunny remained part of the family. Piper carried the yellow fan to a school science fair and built a model explaining battery-powered emergency cooling. Raina helped with the medical facts. Gavin helped wire a safe demonstration switch. The project won second place because Piper spent too much presentation time criticizing the judge's ventilation. At Juniper Court, the residents turned the laundry room into a permanent emergency hub. It held water, charging banks, cooling cloths, flashlights, and a list of neighbors who needed help during extreme weather. Gavin trained residents on electrical safety. Raina taught the signs of heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Mr. Benton recovered and donated the first tomatoes from his new raised garden. He gave the largest one to Raina because, he said, she had kept him alive long enough to complain about its shape. The court case ended in winter. Wesley's company paid restitution and surrendered Juniper Court as part of a settlement. A local housing trust purchased the cottages, kept rent stable, and offered residents long-term leases with transparent maintenance accounts. Justice did not repair the lost sleep or erase Mr. Benton's ambulance ride. It made neglect expensive enough that the next owner could not call it a business plan. By spring, Gavin and Raina had been together 8 months. They argued once about Piper walking home from school alone. Gavin's fear made him dismiss Raina's opinion too quickly. Raina left dinner rather than turn the disagreement into a competition. The next morning, Gavin apologized without explaining away his tone. Raina admitted that being ignored touched an older wound. They built a plan with Piper instead of around her. 2 check-in points, a neighbor backup, and a trial route on Saturdays. Love became real, not when they survived a heat wave, but when they learned to repair an ordinary Tuesday. In June, temperatures rose again. The city opened cooling centers before the first warning. Juniper Court checked its emergency supplies. Every central system passed inspection, and Gavin's portable unit remained stored but ready. Raina worked a long hospital shift on the hottest Friday. She came home after midnight wearing dark burgundy scrubs, her curls tied in a loose knot. The new AC in Cottage 5 hummed steadily. Her home was cool, safe, and entirely available. Still, she crossed the garden carrying a small overnight bag. Gavin opened the door before she knocked. He wore the same fitted charcoal gray t-shirt from the previous summer, though tonight his expression held no alarm. "Is your AC broken?" he asked. "Perfectly cold. Hotel's full." "I didn't call any." Piper appeared behind him, taller now, wearing sunflower pajamas and holding Sunny. Raina looked from the girl to the man who had given her shelter without treating vulnerability as an invitation. "Can I spend the night?" she asked. This time, the question was not about rescue. Gavin stepped onto the porch and took her overnight bag. "Tonight, yes, but I was hoping we could discuss something longer." Raina's dimple appeared. "How much longer?" He glanced at Piper. She lifted a small wooden house key painted with a yellow sun. Gavin had carved it. Piper had added the uneven rays. "We don't want you to give up Cottage 5, Piper said quickly. "Everyone needs a place for quiet." "But Dad has an empty drawer, and I cleared half the bathroom shelf." "1/4, Gavin corrected. "Half if she agrees." Gavin took the painted key from Piper and held it toward Raina. "No emergency," he said. "No pressure. Keep your home. Keep your space. But when you want this door to be yours too, I want you to have a key." Raina did not answer immediately. Her eyes filled as she looked at the little yellow sun, then at Piper, Then at Gavin. "I spent years being needed by people who never made room for me," she said. "You two made room before you knew whether I would stay." She accepted the key. Piper switched on Sunny. The fan rattled for 2 seconds, then stopped. "Battery's dead," she announced. Gavin looked toward the new AC vent pushing cool air through the hallway. "We can charge it tomorrow." Raina stepped inside and closed the door against the heat. She placed the painted key beside Gavin's on the small entry table. Months later, she would keep Cottage 5 as a quiet office and sleep at Gavin's more nights than not. A year after that, they would join the 2 garden plots and argue cheerfully about tomatoes. Nothing happened because one frightened woman had nowhere else to go. It happened because, after the danger passed, they kept choosing the same doorway. Outside, Juniper Court's repaired systems hummed beneath the summer stars. Mr. Benton's sprinklers clicked over the tomatoes. The emergency room in the laundry building remained stocked and unlocked. Inside, Piper returned to bed. Gavin carried Raina's bag to the guest drawer they had made for her. Raina paused in the hallway where she had once stood overheated, embarrassed, and afraid to ask for help. Gavin held out his hand. She took it freely. The first night, he had opened his home because the heat made kindness urgent. This night, he opened it because love had made room permanent.